We've teamed up with UK Auto Claims to see if you could be eligible to claim thousands in compensation. If you've had any cars, vans or motorbikes on finance between 2007 and 2021, well, just click the link below and start your simple free check. Hi and welcome along to the Invincible podcast. We are still over here in Paris on the back end of the defeat. Arsenal out of the Champions League in the semi-finals, beaten by PSG 2-1 on the night, 3-1 on aggregate. And we're both deflated, we're both gutted. It's the morning after, but it still hurts, Lee. So close to a final. Would have been our first final in this competition since 2010. Since 2006. Since 2006. This was the first final since first semi-finals since 2010. So it's been a long time in coming. Got here, but yet again, we haven't gotten over the line with Mikel Arteta. And that's the question today. Can he get us over the line? And also, first of all, reflecting on the game. And reflecting on this season in the Champions League. What's your thoughts?
Listen, to get to the semi-finals, got to take some sort of credit. But once we got to the semi-final, I didn't think we'd done ourselves justice, particularly in the first game. I thought yesterday, coming out of the stadium, I was we're all disappointed, but I was quite proud of the players. I thought they'd give it their all. They played well. We just come up short. But the first leg, big disappointment. And that's where I think Mikel's let himself down in that game. That was the game where he had to make the decisions, get the tactics right and the team right, and he failed. I thought yesterday was a little bit more easier to do with Thomas Partey coming back. And I thought for the first 25 minutes, Rob, I thought we was brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. But you've got to take your chances. You've got to score from those chances. Declan Rice has had unlucky with an header, probably should have scored. But do you want Declan Rice doing that? He's got to be the main guy in it, the centre forward. And I think when push comes to shove, those finer moments to get over the line, yes, you can say it's the manager and his decisions, but I also think it's the top players. How many times did Henry get us over the line? Ian Wright got us over the line, that goal scorer. We haven't got it, Rob. We haven't got it, and listen, I was listening to one of the fan cams yesterday. It was a fair point when he turned around and said, when your two strikers are not there in Havertz and Jesus. My argument to that is, are they proper strikers? No. They're not. And until we get that sorted, I think we've got many a nights like this. And it's hurting, but that's how it is. And listen, in football, if you're in sport, you're going to go through more pain than gain. That's how it is, And so when those moments come around, you have to take them, Rob. And it's disappointing. 2 semi-finals this season, and so 4 games in semi-finals. If you look over it, and even if the men, we won't go to the Man United game because they're in the semi-final. We haven't won one of them. Yeah. So it's a tough night last night. Listen, reflecting on a couple of things last night. I'm angry about other fans having a go at us and all that, But realistically, when Spurs have been losing this season, you've been tagging your mates and having a go at them. Not really, because at the end of the day, then they're not bothered. They're worried about us. That's why they're doing that. But at the end of the day, we've got to get over the line somewhere now, Rob, and it's got to be next season or never now. I'm sorry, I'm not in this camp of wanting the manager out, but you can see it over last night and coming out of the ground that it's getting that way, Rob. I don't know if I agree with it, but it's got to be. This can't continue. It can't continue.
Yeah, listen, it was a very good performance at the start of that game. Like in particular, I think we really took it to them. I saw some little tactical tweaks. I mean, the long throws that they were deploying, they obviously saw something, and that nearly worked. It created chaos. We had chances. There was Martinelli had that chance from, a bit of mix up in the box, but Donnarumma, by the way, over the
difference.
2 legs. I think this is the thing, what you talk about what you just said with Ian Wright. It's individuals who really step up and have massive games. He had 2 massive games for them. In the first leg, he made a couple of unbelievable saves. And in this game, I mean, the save he made from Odegaard, brilliant save. The save he made from Saka in the second half, an unbelievable save. And it's small and fine margins when it comes to these sort of competitions. And this is where you need class players. And then the other small margins is if you make errors, you get punished. Little errors by Arsenal. Thomas Partey cleared a header out a bit better than that. You might have got away with that in the Premier League. You might have got away with that. But in this competition, the players are so good that they'll punish you for things like that. And it was, when I look at it, right, over the 2 legs, they've scored 3 absolute brilliant goals. You know what I mean? All 3 of them have been top quality goals by PSG. And by the way, I disagree with what Mikel Arteta said, where he said that, the better team, the best team in the, what did he say? The best team in the tournament. No, I'm not having that. No. We haven't been the best team in the tournament. I think you've got to look at PSG and say at the moment, I kind of see what he's trying to say, right? Is that in the group stages, we finished 3rd, we were brilliant, we had some great performances. But at the end of the day, we've come up against PSG and they've turned us over in both games. And they beat Liverpool and they beat Villa. They've beaten 2 of the best teams because Liverpool finished 1st in those group stages. We finished 3rd. They've beaten both of us, right? You know what I mean? So you have to say, right, that they, so far, we'll find out. Whoever wins the final is going to be the best team because they've all had to come up against top sides. So I don't agree with him on that. But it is fine margins. We didn't put away our chances. They put away their chances brilliantly. We've done well. When I'm putting things into context, we've done very well to get to the semi-finals. I don't think when we drew Real Madrid, most people thought that we'd get past them. We got past them brilliantly. I think that's what's led to a lot of the big disappointment on this because we played so well against Real Madrid. And then that lackluster sort of performance in the first game at home, it was a real downer. We should have done what we did yesterday in the first game. We really stuck it on them. But at the end of the day, they've beaten us in both games. They have been better than us. I think that, they have been better. Simple as that. And we have to accept it. And Lee, you're right. We got to get in a top quality striker. There's been chances in the games that have not been taken, right? We're still too reliant on Bukayo Saka, right? Everything last night came down, and I say everything. To be fair, at the start of the game, I thought Martinelli did really, really well down his side. But then it was predominantly coming down that side. We need threats right across that front line, right? And it's been a disappointing season. Like you said, 2 semi-finals failed. 2nd or 3rd or wherever we're going to finish in the league, failed in that, right? I know there's been loads of injuries. There's been mitigation with that. But I'm with you, Lee. I feel that now, if the time is, the clock is ticking on Mikel Arteta. If he doesn't win anything next season, and I don't even think a Carabao Cup or something like that, when I'm talking about winning, I'm talking about Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup, maybe you could survive if he had a great season and it was, but I think he has to win something substantial or you're going to have to think about making a change for sure, because I'm getting Gareth Southgate settings here where it's, when you picked up the thing, it was bad. You've done really, really well. Southgate was with England, was starting to, when you look at what he achieved compared to all who came before since 1966, you've got to say he's done a great job, Southgate, yeah? But didn't get us over the line when we were in the final of the Euros. Didn't do it. Ended up having to go. So it's going to be a similar thing with Mikel Arteta. I think he gets next season because he's got a bit of mitigation this season because of the amount of injuries and everything like that. But next season, he has to win something. He's put himself under a lot of pressure now.
He has, and he puts himself under pressure with some of the things that he says. First of all, about the Gareth Southgate. Gareth Southgate had all the players as well. He had a Harry Kane up front, blah,
True.
blah, blah. Mikel hasn't got that.
Yeah, that's true.
So what I will say that...
But why have he got that?
Well,
whose decision is it to say, all right, I know Havertz has been injured, so, we're never going to know, but he went with Havertz as his man, right?
Yeah.
Come on, every fan, every expert has been saying Arsenal, great side, but they need a striker. That's either now in the January, I'm still of the thing that I feel he wanted someone in January, a striker, because they were trying to get Ollie Watkins, right? That shows me that he was trying to get a striker. They didn't get that striker. Obviously, they've decided not to, money or whatever it is, right? But he should have got that striker last summer, right? And that was his failing on not doing that, right? If we had a top quality striker that scores 20 plus goals every season, that might have got us over the line. Not just this season, but last season as well.
It gets you over games when you've not played well, Rob.
Yeah.
That's what it does, or when you're on top in a Champions League game with 25 minutes and you're all over them, and you go 1-0 up, 2-0 up, and the game's done. Mikel, listen, I'm still with him, but he doesn't help himself. He does not help himself when he says what he says. Yeah, we've had a good campaign over in the Champions League, and we have been one of the best teams in it. If you look at it, we come third in the group stages, and we've done well in the group. Liverpool were the best team up to the group stage and went out early. You know what I mean? So we've done it, but it's like saying you're 800 metre runner or something like that, and I was winning in the first lap. It does not matter. It's what happens at the end. It's no good like saying, but I won the first lap and I was leading at one stage. It's what people do at the end. And when it comes to the end, something's not right. Players, for instance, my biggest disappointment last week is we never turned up. We didn't turn up as a team. Individual players did not turn up, and the manager got it all wrong. I look at the Newcastle game. We didn't turn up in that first game. We got rolled over at home by Newcastle. Out tacticked in the game by Eddie Howe. In a big game. These are the things that Mikel's got to get right. I think he got his tactics right yesterday, but it was too late, Rob. It was too late. You had to do it in the first leg when it mattered. Now, against Real Madrid, he done it. But as I say, when people say about Real Madrid, great. But quarterfinals, it's not when it, on the final stretch, is it? You know what I mean?
Quarterfinals are still big.
It's still big, but at the end of the day, it's a race, Rob. It's a race, and you've got to get every part of that race right.
Of course.
And at the end of the day, if you keep doing if you're 400 metres, you're doing 300 metres right. You're not getting the 100 metres at the end right. Something's got to change. Now, I go back to coaches in sprinting, quite good. They go, do you know what they do? I need to tweak something. I need a new coach to get me over the line. Tennis, I need a new coach to get me over the line. This is what these people are saying now. They're not having I don't think they're saying Mikel's rubbish. I don't think they're saying, there are the stupid ones that are saying that he's a clown and all that and things like that. But that's a semi-final last night. He's responsible for that.
As I said, right, first semi-final since 2010.
Yeah, so he's responsible for that.
People put it. This is important to put these things into context.
It is.
We've been to one final, right?
We've challenged for the league for the last two seasons.
Yeah,
all of that sort of stuff. Yeah. But
and also one final, 2006. That's when that was. That's nearly nearly 20 years ago. Last semi-final, 2010. Right? So we do have to put that in context. However, as you say, Lee,
it is about now getting over the line now. And that is the conversation now. And if I'll be really honest, and I don't know how you feel about that, you can say, I'm not 100% sure what I've seen against Newcastle, what I've seen against Man United at home, what I've seen constantly over the last couple of years, that he can get us over the line. Now, that is not a criticism of him as a manager, you know what I mean?
Like, it is. It's a fair criticism as a manager.
Doesn't mean to say he's not a good manager. It doesn't mean say he's a good. There's a winning is fine margins, and at the end of it, to me, you've got to be able, to do it even as a player, Rob. You know what I mean? There's a lot. Like Harry Kane gets consistently. Is he world class because he's never got over the line? Right, he's got over the line with Bayern Munich, but it's not the same because that's expected. But like at the end of the day, there's always that little mark against you if you can't do it. And at this moment in time, I'm not convinced with what I've seen last night, particularly at home, that he has got it. Now, people will say he hasn't got the players and whatever, but the decisions that he made for that first leg weren't elite as far as I'm concerned. And listen, I'm not saying what his job and all that. I have an opinion. As a fan, I'm entitled to an opinion, same as you are, Same as the guys now that want him out. They're entitled to an opinion. But at the end of the day, you've got to, somewhere along the line, you've got to get it done, Rob, you know what I mean? And he hasn't.
No, 100%. 100%. And, I said in the fan cam that I did last night, I spoke about him being backed as well. Because another thing that's really annoyed me has been, if you look, there's a correlation. There's a correlation when you look at it. I look at it, people at the moment are saying, he's been in charge for, was it 5 years, 6 years? This is his 6th season, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? So to me, I look at the first few seasons and say to myself, listen, those were complete rebuilds. They were, right? We were in a terrible place when he took over. Let's remember that. Finishing an 8th and things like that. He then took it to that season when we all of a sudden came second. I don't care. People don't be revisionists. Go and look back on that. No one was expecting us that season to challenge for the league. That was ahead of time. Everybody was like, wow, we could actually win it. You know what I mean? We were thinking more the season after. I think that season after is then when I start to look at it now and start to say, right, we were really, really good last season. Really good.
Yeah.
But they didn't get that top striker in, right? Then they saw the results of how well we did that season, just losing out to Man City. They didn't go out in the summer and buy that striker. I wasn't against the Marino signing. I think he's proved to be a very good player, and I think he'll be a player, be better next year. You know what I mean? I think Calafiori, all right, we're not seeing the best of him because of injuries. Sterling's been an absolute disaster, as we know. It happens in loan signings or signings. But what they should have done, they had the whole summer to go and get a striker, and everybody was left baffled why they didn't get it. And what happened? We're now runners up again. So all of those seasons when we know what we need really to get us over the line, we're runners up. We're nearly there because we've nearly done it in the transfer window. In January, but we did nothing. So what have we finished with? Nothing. We've got what we've deserved because of what they did in January. And as I said, you look at Man City as an example, who could end up having a better season than Arsenal, number one in where they finish in the league, and number two because they could have a trophy in the FA Cup, something that we was in as well, right? Now, what did they do in January? They were in a dark place. You know what I mean? They lost Rodri at the start of the season. They weren't firing. Everybody's been sort of saying, City, they've been dreadful. They were. They went out in January because they were in serious danger at that time. They were like sometimes 5th, 6th place, weren't they, in the league? They were languishing. They went out and they went big in January. They bought in Marmouche. They bought in two midfield players. They bought in a defender, right? Because they were struggling. They had injuries. What's happened to them since? Now they're in the final of the FA Cup. They're already out of the Champions League, right? But they're in the final of an FA Cup. They're third in the league, right? The objective of trying to make sure, because they knew they couldn't win the league, but the objective of making sure that they're going to get into the Champions League is going to be achieved. That is because of what they did in January. If they hadn't have done anything, they'd probably be out of the FA Cup. They'd probably be struggling to get into the top 5. That's the reality of it. Their owners backed Pep Guardiola and said, listen, all right, I know you're struggling here. What did we do? We didn't do anything. We didn't get Ollie Watkins. We didn't get any signing at all, even though we knew We were like, Jesus is out, Saka's out, right? Players are missing. Even when those players were there, we're misfiring. They decided, whether it be the board or Arteta, and I just feel that just by what he thinks he was saying and the fact they were pushing for Ollie Watkins, I feel it's more the board on this, but listen, I'll never know 100%. But all I do know is they didn't do anything. And what's happened to us? Fallen away in the league against Liverpool because we didn't have enough. Never had options. Actually picked up more injuries, but never ever had options to bring off the bench. People are talking about, last week tactics wrong. The only person he really had in reality he could have brought in was a 17-year-old Ethan Nwaneri. That's not enough. Should have went out in the summer, in January and got someone. So we've fallen away in the league badly. It made Liverpool just coast to the league. Yeah? Done well to get this far in the Champions League, right? But at the end of the day, no options on the bench again in any of those games, really. Well, Trossard last night, but in the previous game, right? In the Carabao Cup semi-final, no options. Because remember, there was no Havertz, no this, no anybody. I don't think there was even a Marino at that time, right? Kind of got what we've deserved because we've not done what is required in the transfer window. Now, this summer, they must go big. And I mean big. I'm going to be very, very disappointed if I don't see a world-class or top striker coming at this football club. Oh. And another top forward player as well. I mean, I saw a rumour today linking, saying that they're interested in getting Gyökeres and Rory Delap. I'd be for something like that. But I don't want to see just a project come in. I want to see something that's the fit. Bayern Munich went and got Harry Kane because they wanted to win the league back, and they've done it. Because they know Harry Kane is guaranteeing them goals. Yeah? They brought in Michael Elise because they could see a top quality forward player. All of a sudden now, they got threats going forward everywhere. Arsenal are too dependent on Saka. It's always Saka's side. It's not that the others don't contribute, they do. But on a where's that striker? How the hell do we expect to win leagues without a top-class striker or another goal scorer? Look at Liverpool. Look how many options they've got. They've got Salah who bangs in. Salah's going to give you 20. 20 plus, because he does that every season. Then you've got Jota. Then you've got Gakpo. Then you've got Luis Diaz. Then you've got, even though he misses a load of goals, but you've got, what's his name? Nunes. Look how much firepower they have compared to us. It's crazy. Look at Man City. They've got Haaland, Marmoush, I forgot his name.
Doku, they've got those.
Yeah, Doku.
Got plenty of options.
Options. Yeah?
That's what we haven't got, options.
What are we doing? How do we expect? So go and do that in the summer. And then after that, it's on Mikel Arteta. If you don't win something, he has to. We have to go for a change. Yeah, it's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that, and it ain't all on Arteta. This, I can tell you that now. There is. You've got to look at these owners. But I will say this: he turned around and said they're the best owners.
Well, he did.
In the world.
Yeah.
So
he's got to hold it.
He's got to hold that. So this is what I'm saying. I've heard rumours yesterday that to fund what we expect, we're going to have to lose one of our big players. So and it was said it could be either Saliba or Gabriel. Now that ain't a great owner. That's not great ownership. You've got your best defence your two best central defenders. You keep them.
You build on that.
You build on that.
That's what the top teams do. You don't see City losing any top player. They build
to fund Haaland.
They lose players when they want them to. This is what I was saying. I've said this many a times to people. The top clubs, they get rid of players, right? It's not the other way around. They lose players when they feel that he's past his sell-by date.
Which we done.
De Bruyne is leaving Man City. I still think he's a top-class player. He's leaving Man City because they feel that we can afford to let him go now. We've had the best of him. We're going to move on to someone else.
100%.
They've not done that 2 years ago where he's at the top of his game and said, we need the money. That's little club syndrome.
No, and I'll tell you what, Rob, this is what I'm saying. Best owners right? We as fans pay a lot of money, like, and over the years we paid a lot of money for you to say, right, we get the best centre halves in the league, and then you turn around and you're selling them to fund this and fund that. So I don't want to see that next season. I'll tell you that now.
And like I said in January, you made that point last night, and I thought it was brilliant, right? What did they do? PSG were struggling in the Champions League, people. We beat them 2-0. They had to go into the qualification phase to get to this thing. But what did they do in January? They went out and they bought one of the best wide players around in Europe in Kvaratskhelia. In January, 75, 80 million, I think about 80 million euros or 85 million euros or something they spent. Lots of money. He has helped to transform that forward attack. That attack now is amongst the best around. Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, Doué, Barcola, whoever you want to. Transformed. What did we do?
Nothing.
Nothing.
The biggest thing for me yesterday, when it showed massively, is that you looked at our bench yesterday. We've got 4 players on there that have not even played a Premier League game, and you're going into a Champions League semi-final with 4 players that have got never coming on, Rob. Never coming on, and that is down to recruitment. Now people will turn around and say, "Oh well, we've got injuries."
Yeah.
But Rob, at this stage of the season, everybody's going to have injuries. You have got to you're not going to go through a season without any injuries. You've got to calculate that. So when it's in the final running at the end of the season, you are going to have players that are not quite fit and injured. Now, what I'm hearing is that players are being patched up to get through games at the business end of the season, because they're being run ragged through the whole of the season, whether it's a small squad or we haven't got that. This owner, this man coming in now, he's coming in now, has got to address that. Has got to address that. And if you are a club that is wanting to win the big prizes, you have to spend the money in right areas. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have players coming through. Look what we've got coming through. This club has saved itself millions with Miles Lewis-Skelly, millions with Wanyeri, like, you know, and there's another couple coming through, like, you know. So it is now time that you, as a club, put the money in. Now, every single week, we are, and there are fans, I know that fans that go into this game couldn't afford to go to this game because they're saving up maybe to go to Munich, or they've done their money at Real Madrid. Scrimping and saving to follow this football club about, like, you know, and the club is doing the same. And it's not on. It's not on. I want to see in this summer, I want to see a proper transfer window. Now, at the end of the day, people say that me and you have been slagged off for saying a 7 and 8 or an 8 out of 10 last season. On the back of last season, I can see why they done that, like, you know, right? I can see why, because we'd just lost the league by 2 points on a great run and all that. It's hard to say to someone, you've been magnificent now and drop them and all that, like, right? Okay. So I give that one a slight pass. But then in January, to do nothing, not a thing, is criminal.
We said it at the time. Nobody's getting wise after, right? We said it at the time. It's absolutely criminal what they did, right? I was disgusted when I saw that we didn't bring in anybody on that final day of the transfer window. I remember it was at one stage, I just sat down there, just looking into space for about half an hour and thinking, have these guys really just done this? They've just basically just given up on the season. We're lucky we had this Champions League run, right? Because if that hadn't been around, I swear, it would have been the most depressing season. It's going to kind of end up a bit depressing anyway. But they did absolutely nothing. Got what we deserved.
Yeah.
Not what the fans deserved, because every one of us knew we should have done something. Nor the players. But what the decision makers, whether it be Arteta, you've gotten what you deserve. You did nothing, you're getting nothing. It's as simple as that. Whereas, look at an example, as we just said, with PSG. They did something, they're getting stuff. City did something, they're getting stuff. We did nothing. We gave up on the season in January. Yeah. And the season's done.
The season's done. And
stretch it out a bit, but it's done.
The hurtful thing for me as a fan, right, yesterday was seeing them all celebrating it, all going to the final. PSG.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, 6 months ago when we was the best, six months ago we was much better than them, and and that's what comes me back to Mikel. When you turn around and say, "Oh yeah, we're the best team," no, you're not.
We're not. But that's ridiculous.
Don't insult us as fans.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
we're not the best team in it. They're better than us, man. Like over the 2 games, we were there. We witnessed it. They're a great side. The way they played, they did us in. But they beaten us in both games, right? And in both of those games, even though we had chances, they hit the post last night, right? In the previous game, they hit the post twice. They are a very good side, right? You know what I mean? He's chatting rubbish there. I mean, when I saw him say that, I was like, Arteta, I know you can get caught up in the emotions after a game and say you're chatting rubbish. I'm sorry.
But he's done it,
right?
he's
I
done
respect
it a lot,
him as a
Rob.
manager.
He's done it
but
a
you're
lot.
chatting rubbish there. We're not better than them. If we were better than them, we'd be through.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of that before, like, against the Newcastle game, he said about the balls. You know what I mean? It's just, stop that. Stop insulting us as fans and giving other clubs ammunition to have a go at us. At the end of the day, sometimes, over the 2 legs, we was the better side against Real Madrid. And he's quite happy to go along and say that, you know what I mean? But when a team's done you twice, you have to hold your hands up and just say, like, look, listen, we will improve. We will get better. We will this, we will that. I'd rather hear that than what I'm hearing yesterday.
And it's no shame to go out in the semi-final. Barcelona, everybody made the favourites, are out as well. You know what I mean? There's some great teams in this. This is a hard competition to win. That's why it's so difficult.
Well, the other thing, Rob, I'll say this now. Learn from this. Yeah. It's a new format, right? Everybody's going, it's important you come first, second and third in this group. Liverpool first, out early. Barcelona second, out. Arsenal third, out. Inter Milan fourth or in. You know what I mean? Like, so you just got to get yourselves in that top 10. Don't matter where you are, because of the way the rules are, unless they change overall, it's just important you get into it.
That's another thing.
It's another thing. But you've got to, it ain't the be and end all of getting in as high as you can in that thing. Like, so there were games last season where we could have probably just rested a couple more players, maybe done something differently. I don't know, but learn from this. Learn from your mistakes instead of turning around and saying we're this and we're that. Transfer this summer. I don't care. I want to be sitting down, and I want to see you on double bubble next week. Like, you know what I mean, doing double shifts. Double shifts because of the players coming in and all that, like, Joe's nodding his head, like, you know what I mean. But at the end of the day,
it has to be Joe.
It has to be.
No, you're right. Listen, I want to see an attack. Yeah, I want to see an attack. And by the way, what you're saying about getting rid of it, I'll be angry with that as well. I've heard these rumours about Gabriel. I mean, if maybe a major offer came in from Saudi,
right, yeah. They're going to say
they consider it, because it'd be like 110 million. Don't do it. You need your best strikers. You saw how good, like, even that Marquinhos, he was injured actually, but I think when we played him the first time around, he's been back. He's a top quality player. We need top quality players. Build on, don't be selling. But I want to see an attack that frightens teams. When you look at that attack and you see Saka, as maybe it's Saka, Gyökeres, and another unbelievable left winger, and then you've got options of Martinelli and Trossard, and that's when it starts to get scary. And you can rotate properly. You can say, all right, we've got Carabao Cup game, Havertz, you start this one, that. Oh, we got this game, back on the weekend after that, Gyökeres, or whoever it is. Go out there and break the bank for these signings. I don't want to hear no excuses this time. It's got to be big.
The one disappointment for me yesterday also was the like-for-like substitutions again. Why, you're chasing goals. Why don't you put Martinelli down the middle instead of taking him off and putting on Trossard? Ben White for Timber. Left back for left back. There was no variety, nothing. Do you remember back in the day when we was... we'd bring in Carnu and we'd have Wiltord, Henry. They'd have about 5 forwards up
options.
Top.
Like what Liverpool have got this season.
But we
ain't got that.
And when we have got the options, bloody use them.
Yeah. I think the other thing is this small squad thing can't work no more. We've seen it this season. We've absolutely been devastated because of having a small squad and injury. Like you said, we've been bailed out by players like Lewis Skelly and Wanieri coming in and stepping up. But you're not going to win the league if you're asking kids to have to come in and step up. Build a bigger squad, a squad that can compete on all fronts, a squad that is going to be there for the whole season. The season is long. He's all right getting excited in November and that, we're doing, but the season finishes in May. It's a long time after, right? Build a squad that can sustain the season, because you know what? It's a very long season. You're going to have peaks and troughs throughout that season. And every team's going to improve as well. So we cannot afford to stand still this summer. This summer is absolutely huge. They brought in that Berta. I hope he's coming in with some new, fresh ideas. I hope he's coming in with some big signings, right? Because this is what's needed at Arsenal. They need to make some statements.
I also think a new coach is needed as well. Someone that's going to change our style of play as well.
Yeah, style of play is going to change.
I'm not saying Mikel, by the way. I'm saying somebody else to change the way we're playing, because I looked at us yesterday. Let's get this right. We're a very good team. We competed yesterday, but you could see that we weren't quite good enough. But we need to build on that, Rob. We need to build on that and go, right, we've got a very, very good defence. We've got good midfield players, but we need something different to blast teams away.
But then also, I want to see us playing like how we played yesterday, like that in the league. Because, we've been playing this style of this complete control. That has failed this season.
Yes.
That control style. You know what? That control style works away from home. At home. Fails. Got to get at home. We got to be, as I said, I'm referencing Liverpool because they've won the league and they've done it in style. And the way they've done it is that when you go to Anfield, they'll blow you away. They'll blow you away, right? They're intense. We haven't been. We've been at home. We've been control. Maybe score. Then we let them back teams back in because we don't kill them off. Kill off teams at home. Be intense at home. On teams. So when teams come to the Emirates, they're very fearful, and then you're just on them. We're not that. We're just control.
I want to see a massive change.
Massive change for the home games.
Yeah, massive change. And there's got to be a different style. There's got to be different players coming in, and there's got to be a different mentality. And dead right what you're saying there. I don't want to see Declan Rice, players like Saka, Ben White, one of them who, over the course of going into April, May, shattered. When it really, really matters. We need them, fresh mind, fresh body. And the reason that you do that is because you have got, when you're playing League Cup ties at Preston away or an FA Cup game in January, they are not needed.
Yeah.
They are needed at the moment because of a thin squad.
Yeah.
Get it sorted. And I'll tell you what, if it's not sorted this summer,
heads have to roll.
Heads have to roll. And I'll tell you what, there's going to be a lot of fans that are going to say, do you know what? Enough's enough. Enough's enough of this board. Enough's enough of keep buying the merch and all that. Listen, I've seen the kits, seen them given to us by a nice little contact yesterday, showed us what they're going to be. They're lovely. You know what I mean? But they're over £100, Rob. You know what I mean? But we'll be scrimping and saving to get them. I want the ball to be doing the same. I'm not selling my watch to go and buy that shirt or whatever. I'm not going to be selling my best pair of trainers to get that. Not like what they're doing, I'm going to sell my best defender to get this and whatever. No, I'm keeping my watch, I'm keeping my trainers, and I'm going to buy that thing because you know what? That's what Arsenal should be doing as well.
Yeah. We still got some to the Premier League this weekend. Liverpool away.
I feel for them. I'm not going, but I fear for the fans that are. Do you know what I mean? Got to give them a guard of honour. You know what I mean? They're going to get all the stick. you know what I mean? Like, good luck to the fans going there. Like, you know, as it happens, Arsenal, instead of be giving out scarves, they should be paying everybody to go up there. You know what I mean? That is a tough game for us to go.
And straight after going out in the Champions League, and listen, we're not dead cert yet for the Champions League. I mean, if we
need a win.
One win, isn't it? One win to, we've got 3 games left. Newcastle next week, then Southampton. I guess that's your insurance policy away from home. But do you care whether you finish 2nd, 3rd, 4th?
No.
Well, I don't really care.
Do you know what? I'm going to say it now. And I'd hate to say this, because obviously, like, I don't want Arsenal to lose games. If we don't, I think, like, have a look at yourselves. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't challenged for the title this season. We've been nowhere near, you know what I mean? We've been second, but like...
Listen, remember, as we said, we haven't challenged for the title since when?
January. We went into a league game, Rob, right, in January, without Saka, Havertz, Martinelli, because he was injured as well, right? Yeah. And Sterling was injured as well, funny enough, right? Just after a transfer window. And you expect to challenge for a title. I think it's a disgrace.
They got away with it because of the Champions League, but now what's happening is that we're all remembering it now.
Yeah, well, we ain't...
Right? And we haven't, since January, when they didn't buy anybody, people, look at the results.
And look at the form.
Look at the form. And I would like somebody to ask Mikel Arteta or whoever that question. Do you think that failure to bring anybody in January has led to the poor end of this season?
The journalists won't be doing that. They won't get their mince pie at Christmas, will they? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
that would be the question, and maybe that's why I don't get into these press conferences, because that would be the question I'd be asking. Do you think, because... Bro, you don't have to be. You don't have to be, a
January
expert in football.
January failed us, like, the question. You don't even have to answer it. It's there in black and white. If we be honest, like, failed. You know what I mean, like. And I'm telling you that now. This summer, make sure you get everything. I want to come into that first game of the season, coming back from the tour, right? When we go to the Emirates Cup. With a side where I'm sitting there excited and going, do you know what? We are winning it. I've never been convinced that we can actually win it. We have had a very, very good chance, but I've always felt, we need this, we maybe need that, but the squad ain't strong enough and whatever. I want to sit there and go, wow, this is it. This is the time we win it. Excited about what I'm seeing up front, in the middle and at the back. And listen, we've had that when Saliba come. I was excited when I see him. Do you remember we went over to Orlando and we see him? He's fantastic. Declan Rice the season before, excited. Do you remember when he come on that time? Everybody was excited. Last season, nothing really was exciting. But I understand that from that. I want to be excited. I want to see Arsenal show there. I think Arsenal in January showed they had no ambition, really. And that's what worries me, like, going forward. And I turn around and say, I don't really want to follow Arsenal so much now, because they are not showing the ambition that I think we, as fans, we deserve. Show it in this summer. Show it in this summer that you are, what's the word I'm looking for?
Ambitious.
Yeah. And you want to. You want to win. You're not there just to earn money. You are there to be winners.
Okay. Well, listen, we come to the end of the Invincible podcast here in Paris. We're going to be heading back to the UK. Got that game against Liverpool at the weekend. Actually, we're doing our tour of...
You're off to Kenya.
I'm off to Kenya. We're going to be watching the game over in Kenya with some fans in Kenya. So that should be... I'm glad I'm going now, man. It's just like, it could be a nice experience at least. Although they're all going to be depressed over there. Let's hope we can cheer them up. But we're going to be watching the fans with Kenya over there. Looking forward to that. We are still going to be at the game. So if you are going to the game, we will be interviewing fans after the game at Anfield. We're also going to be in the studio as well. Lee, you got a cup final yourself,
I've got a cup final Sunday.
After all that talk, what I mean, you've got to deliver,
I've got to deliver now. I've got a cup final Sunday. That's why I'm not going to Liverpool.
You are going to be in the studio,
I'm going to be in the studio after,
so
I'm going to be at the cup final, play the cup final.
Who are you playing?
We're playing. Who are we playing? Allensbury's.
Good side.
They're not bad. They're down the bottom, but they've had a good run in the cup.
So you're the favourites.
We are the favourites for this one. Then the following Sunday we got the team that won the league against us. So that'd be
another cup final.
2 cup finals. So we've been in 3 cup finals this season. Won the county cup, didn't we? Back in,
all right. So you did a treble.
Could do the treble of cups, So that would be nice,
Wow.
So we've got a manager, Lawsy, that knows how to get us over the line.
Maybe we'll get Lawsy for the new manager of Arsenal if Mikel Arteta doesn't win a trophy next season. You've heard it here first. Lawsy, get yourself ready. Thanks for watching the show today. It's been disappointing over here in Paris. Ultimately, we haven't got over the line. But we move on to Liverpool, man. A couple of games to go now, 3 games to go until the end of the season. And I'm sure there'll be more post-mortems here. Lee, the Champions League journey's come to an end. By the way, let me just say, it's been a great journey. Big up to all the guys. Big up to Joe, who's been on nearly all of the trips. It's been good. Even Madrid was great. I mean, what's your standout for the Champions League? Madrid, right? It's got to be.
It's got to be Madrid. It was just a fantastic atmosphere, fantastic trip, wonderful city.
Yeah.
Listen, we've had some, thanks to you for bringing me on these trips and everything like that. Just absolute blast.
It's great.
Lake Como.
Atalanta.
When we had Atalanta. Every game, Lisbon, Milan. We've didn't go to Milan, but
Sporting, that was great. PSV was a good one.
PSV, and we're very, very fortunate to go where we go. We've got a great crew. Joe behind the scenes does unbelievable work. You know what I mean? People say it's glamorous. You know what I mean? 2 o'clock in the morning. We got in last night. He's still up till 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And he's up again today.
Out there in the cold. Having PSG fans walking past us giving a stick.
But and we have a real blast, and it's been fantastic, and we couldn't go any further from only the final. We've gone to every stage of the competition bar the final, So quarterfinals last season, semi-finals this season. Who knows?
Finals next year. Hopefully we win it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back in England. The Invincible podcast. Myself, Robbie, and Lee Judges come together once a week to discuss all things Arsenal. Straight talking, considered discussion, brought to you by the fans of the only club in Football League history to go invincible.